proportion of Americans want to have Project 2025 put in place?
I would imagine a very small amount if they truly understand what it will do.
4%. 4% of Americans actually want this to happen. And you can see around the country enormous numbers of people turning out to say, hey, wait a minute. I wanted U.S. aid to survive. I cared about the National Institute of Health. I wanted public institutions of education. I wanted the Department of Education. I wanted to have a National Weather Service. You're seeing people say this is not what we wanted.
Having said that, Heather, why is Trump's approval rating still at 47% then?
One of the ways to explain it is the idea that he has developed this personality cult around himself. But I think more interesting in this moment for us is, why do people still, as you say, support him when they don't support what he's doing? And my answer to that would be, we know now that the radical right has built its own information bubble. And that information bubble simply doesn't tell people what's happening out there. So here's an example for you. If you were paying attention last weekend, you knew that we had terrible, terrible storms across this country that killed at least 40 people and devastated huge swaths of Missouri and Arkansas straight across the country under the East Coast. And I was looking at that and I thought, I wonder what the president did about that. Because again, if you were following his social media posts, as I do, he was talking about how he had won the golf championship at his golf club in West Palm Beach. So I started looking around about it and ended up on the Fox News channel. And what they said on the Fox News channel was that Trump had called out the National Guard in Arkansas in order to deal with the crisis there. And there was all this cheerleading for, finally, we have a president who'll do something for us, and so on and so forth. Well, the National Guard is mobilized by the governor of a state. What happened was that Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who is the actual governor of Arkansas, is the one who called out the National Guard. But if you were reading the Fox News channel, what you saw was Trump did it, and Biden had never done anything like that. And I think this is the real thing that we're having to grapple with in this country at this moment, is that an awful lot of Americans are not just uninformed, they are misinformed about what is actually happening. You know, it's not like it was a fight between a Democrat and a Republican. Quite literally, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is a Republican governor of Arkansas, and yet she got virtually no credit for having called out the National Guard. Instead, Trump did, and I could not find, I won't say that he didn't do anything, because I suppose maybe he did and I couldn't find it. Didn't matter, because according to the right-wing media, he had been right there right away to take care of the problem, at least in Arkansas. Although again, that was the governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
One video shows a rocket purportedly fired by Hamas. Another video claims to show Israeli jets bombing Gaza, but neither is real. This video is actually footage from a video game called Arma 3. And this is actually video of soccer celebrations in Algeria. It's all part of a tidal wave of viral mis- and disinformation circulating around the Israel-Hamas conflict. Adi Cohn works with Mamitica, an online threat intelligence service. He's been monitoring misinformation like this, a fake BBC News report that falsely claimed Ukraine had provided weapons to Hamas.
This is relatively sophisticated stuff. I mean, it's got even the same kind of graphic set as the BBC News normally would have.
Right, and I think what happened over recent years, that it becomes very easy, affordable to mimic those graphics, visualization.
In response to the false news report, the BBC told CNN in a statement, "In a world of increasing disinformation, we urge everyone to ensure they are getting news from a trusted source." Just hours after the Hamas attack began on Saturday, this began circulating on social media. A fake White House memo falsely claiming the US was immediately sending billions of dollars in new aid to Israel.
This is like some more old school disinformation, a fake White House document circulated pretty widely online.
Right. I do want to point out, though, it is an old school tactic that we've seen, for multiple years by now. But with the current tools, you can also create it very quickly and make it more believable.
There's new information every second, every minute, every hour, and so there's a lot of room for error as things develop on the ground.
Graham Brookie tracks disinformation with the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab.
And this conflict is hyper-connected. Israel is a very, very connected country, and so we're seeing an enormous amount of misleading content coming out of this conflict as the world's eyes are watching it.
Twitter, now known as X, is a major source of misinformation, in part because of the changes Elon Musk made to the platform since he took it over, including laying off key employees. On Thursday, the European Commission announced it was opening an investigation into disinformation on X about the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Another component of it, I would say, is that because several platforms have scaled back on moderation, it's much easier to spread rumors, unsubstantiated rumors, false information very quick.
But this isn't just an information war. It's a real war, and false information can be fatal.
And that disinformation is extraordinarily harmful, including putting folks' lives at risk.
Man, the stock market is tanking after Trump announced all of these tariffs. Wait, I'm seeing X posts and news headlines saying that Trump's considering a 90-day pause on tariffs for everywhere except China. Okay, let's turn this around. No, that's fake news. He's not doing that. Hey, so actually we will be doing a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs for real, but we will be keeping our 10% across the board tariffs in place while also increasing our tariffs on China 125%. Wait, didn't you just say the 90-day pause was fake news? Oh, sorry, gotta go, bye.
Throughout the DC headquarters for the Department of Housing and Urban Development, there are internal TV monitors, the kind that might show you what's for lunch in the cafeteria or whatever. But instead, today, when employees showed up for work, the first day everybody was expected to be back in the office full time. Instead, on those monitors, they saw this. A fakety fake video of President Trump passionately kissing the feet of Elon Musk with the text, "Long live the real king," superimposed over it. What appeared on those internal TVs at HUD today needs to not exist in nature, and thank heavens it does not. From our own very helpful internal network guidance on this, quote, "Our editorial teams indicate this video appears to be AI generated and fake." Yes. Yes. Thank you, Jesus. The video does have telltale signs of being fake. If you look closely, which I don't recommend, you might notice, for example, that Elon Musk is depicted as having 2 left feet. We ourselves have not seen Mr. Musk's feet, but the ones on screen at HUD today do look like fictional feet. NBC News has reached out to the White House for comment. We will keep you posted.
You think fake news is bad? Wait till you find out about fake history and fake science.
We have breaking news. Donald Trump has announced the shutdown of all bingo clubs nationwide. For more details, let's go live to the White House, where the former president is about to address this issue.
We're shutting down all the bingo clubs across the country because they're a waste of time and resources, and it's about time we focus on more important things. Talking of more important things, check out my sweet dance moves.
Would you be open to a pause in tariffs to allow for negotiation?
Well, we're not looking at that.
In the meantime, there will be a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs as these negotiations are ongoing, and the tariff level will be brought down to a universal 10% tariff.
What the hell happened on Wall Street between 8:43 and 9:17 yesterday morning? Because from the outside, it looked like the biggest pump and dump in history. For those who don't know, a pump and dump is when a stock, usually one with no real value, like the U.S. market right now, gets driven up through hype and manipulation, and then crashes just as fast when the people behind it cash out. For 34 straight minutes yesterday on Wall Street, that's exactly what all the major indexes look like. It felt like we were watching a penny stock shoot to the moon, only to slam back down to earth, except this time it was the entire U.S. financial market. The Dow started the morning down 1,700 points, and then suddenly shot up to over 800 points. And then just as quickly crashed down to a loss of 629. The S&P and NASDAQ did the same, with violent swings up and down within minutes. Now, am I saying the market was manipulated by an outside force or a coordinated group? Of course not. I have zero proof. But it is curious that a fake story about a 90-day pause on tariffs went viral on social and news media right before the spike. And it's even more convenient that it took the White House a full 20 minutes to deny the claim. That would be plenty of time for folks to unload a position or two in a free-falling economy.
How did this random tweet cause a stock market meltdown? My name is Zing Sing and I'm a journalist who covers news, culture and politics. You probably already know that Trump's tariffs are causing havoc on Wall Street and beyond. On Monday, however, there was a ray of hope. Trump was considering a 90-day pause on tariffs. Wall Street celebrated, stocks surged, but there was one problem. It just wasn't true. Here's what happened. Trump's director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, went on Fox News where he was asked whether Trump would consider a 90-day pause. His response was basically, hey, Trump's going to do what Trump's going to do.
I think that the president is going to decide what the president's going to decide.
Users on X then turned this into an actual false story about how Trump was going to introduce this 90-day pause. And then this news was tweeted by an account called Walter Bloomberg. Now, this isn't an official news source. It's not affiliated with Bloomberg News. It's a news aggregator which has 855,000 followers, and it posts headlines as soon as they hit the Bloomberg terminal. That is a subscriber-only news service for people in finance, and sometimes headlines get on there before they've even been published online. The White House moved fast to deny it and call it fake news, but the damage was already done. CNBC and Reuters fell for the fake news story. US stocks surged immediately, only to sink again when people realized they'd made an error. Stocks gained and lost $2.4 trillion in a matter of 10 minutes. The result was an extra flavor of chaos to an already volatile week. In the words of Walter Bloomberg, WTF. Would you have fallen for the fake news? Let me know.
A statement being sent out by the police chief that was false. We have saw a false autopsy report that was false. We have to caution the community to say, hey, we cannot trust everything that is online. The disinformation that is going online is hurting this case, and it has to stop. It has to stop, y'all. As we know it right now, Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony did not know each other. They did not know each other. Let's stop it. They were not at a party together. Let's stop the lies regarding this situation. We also know that both Austin Metcalf, the twin brothers, were on the roster that day to be at that track meet. We also know that Carmelo Anthony was on the roster that day to be at that track meet. We know they both arrived, all of them arrived to this facility via the transportation of Frisco ISD. The lies has to stop, y'all.
Turned out to be fake news. No, it's not fake news. He just canceled the tariffs on the 75 countries that were willing to come to the negotiation table about those tariffs, and raised China's tariffs from 84% to 124%.
Fox News is literally ruining our parents' generation. I was on the phone with my mom. We were talking about ice cream flavors, and my dad comes barging outside on the porch where she's sitting. He says, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. The U.S. has just had the best day. The markets have just had the best day that they've had in over 60 years. I think Fox News, or he calls it X, I call it Twitter, I think that's where he's getting his information from, and this is absolutely terrifying. Of course the markets are doing great right now. The guy in the White House is manipulating them so his friends can get rich, and they were just in the literal toilet. So where do you go but up? I mean, my God. I was like, Mom, I'm gonna have to go. I can't, first of all, can't listen to this. It is insane. And second of all, I've got to get back to my ice cream choices. So Fox News should be held responsible for doing this to all of our parents. Somehow.
I think we have one of the lowest mortality rates in the world. Well, we're going to take a look.
We had 900 deaths on a single day.
We will take a look.
This week.
Ready?
You can check it out.
Could you please get me the mortality rate?
Yeah.
Kaylee's right here. I heard we had one of the lowest, maybe the lowest mortality rate anywhere in the world. Do you have the numbers, please? Because I heard we had the best mortality rate.
The case rate of similarly situated countries, as Dr. Burks points out, and this is
Number one low mortality rate. I hope you show the scenario because it shows what fake news is all about. Okay, go
I don't
ahead.
think I'm fake news, but we'll put
Well, there you were.
we'll put our stats on.
You said we had the worst mortality rate in the world.
It's Joe from Georgia. So this past weekend, huge turnouts for the hands-off protest. Over 5 million people. Over 5 million people were there across the country in 1,300 different locations. Some ranging as few as 50 people up to 50,000 people, almost 100,000 in Washington, D.C. But here's what's the kicker is now that it was so successful, and there's another one planned on April the 19th, by the way, if you missed this one. And so DJT wants to come out and say that they were all paid protesters. And what the funny thing is the amount of money, he said, was given to each protester. From his mouth comes the word that the protesters were paid $1 million to come protest. I can guarantee you, everybody would have came out if we thought we were getting paid $1 million. Who wouldn't have showed up? But you multiply that by the number of people who showed up for the rally, it comes up to over $5 trillion that they were paid. Now, as far as I know, nobody's a trillionaire other than you know who in Russia. So I want to know where all this money came from. Every time that there's a successful protest, the same thing always comes out of their mouths. The MAGA folks say that people were paid. I was there, I wasn't paid, and neither was the other 600 people that I was with. No one's getting paid to protest, folks. You know, that is just rhetoric that continues to come out. But to say that everyone got $1 million apiece, if they're giving out $1 million in protest, let me know where everyone is so I can go. I'm sure you'd want to also.
And you know what? I don't really care about my 401k today. You know what? Not that I can afford it, not that it isn't important, not that I'm not at a point in my life when I should be worried about my 401k, because I am. But this is what I believe. I believe in this man.
Girl, fuck off. If you're conservative, be careful on here right now. This app is censoring like crazy. Like it's been doing that, but it's bad right now. You can't even say actual facts without the video getting taken down. So, who knows? Maybe this video will get taken down too. Whatever. If I get booted on this app, it's been real, guys. I won't be back. See ya.
And it talks about how with these 104% tariffs that went into effect, you know, we think that China is going to have to pay for it, but it tells a story of a special needs toy importer. And when the tariffs went into effect at midnight, his tariff, he's been paying a tariff because he gets stuff from China, $26,000 a year. His tariff bill went from $26,000 at midnight to $346,000. And that's money he's going to have to come out of his pocket. It sounds like he's going to have to go ahead and close down part of his business. He tried to make the toys in the United States, but the tariff on that, his most popular item, went from $0 to $17 at midnight. And what he told the New York Post is people don't understand the tariff situation. They think just foreign countries are paying for the tariffs. That's not true. Half of the tariffs are being paid for by U.S.-based companies. Yeah. So when you look at the big numbers and they look good, just remember that according to this guy, half of the small businesses and half of the tariffs are being paid by Americans.
All right, y'all. So here is another example of fake news. Chinese soldiers captured in Ukraine. All right, this is where I have a big problem with fake news. This would be the same as saying America is in Ukraine because American mercenaries are fighting in Ukraine. We also have American mercenaries fighting for Russia in Ukraine. So does that mean America is in Ukraine too? No. It's the same thing with this crap. Chinese soldiers, they're not Chinese soldiers. They're Chinese mercenaries who are being paid by Russia to fight for them. It is not the Chinese soldier. Enforcer, you're an idiot. They are not sending their forces to fight in Ukraine.
This is what happens when one company controls all the local news stations.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these things they simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
No, that was extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad, because he's in financials. I've always been.
Day 3 of posting until Dax News Media is either gone off this app or the vast majority of people know that his content is fake. Listen, I don't like his content. I don't think that it's good to have content like that in the climate that we're living in right now. But at the bare minimum, if you're going to engage with his content, please engage with it knowing Dax News is not real. If you see Dax, it's not facts. Do not think that it's real. It's not. That's all I want. That's all I desire. Either get him off the app or just know Dax News is like not real. It's AI. He makes it up. Not real. You don't gotta cry about it. You don't gotta pray about these people. It's not real.
What country are you? Wait, what country are you from?
the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay,
And you no. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care
no,
about
no,
American
I
lives
don't-
being
no,
put at
no.
risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care
No,
about
by migrants. No, do you care? Okay, you're done.
Do you care about
I'm not-
American lives
no.
being put at risk?
You know what? I don't
about
care. I don't.
service members fighting for your country.
I don't care
and
about your
vice
fake news.
president
Do you have a
and your
relevant
defense
question?
secretary?
Yeah, this is an American journalist. Thank you.
I'm an American, and I'd like to hear your answer to what she's asking.
I'm not answering her question
All right,
because
I'll
I don't care about her network. If you would like to ask, I can
Do you
answer.
have any concerns whatsoever about the complete disregard of operational security from the top?
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms
To push their own personal bias.
To push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
There are newly revealed text messages that show how some of the biggest names at Fox News actually felt about the bogus election fraud claims that they were pushing at the same time on Fox's air.
So these messages were revealed as in court filings. This is part of Dominion's billion-dollar lawsuit against the right-wing media channel. CNN senior media reporter Oliver Darcy joining us with more. So these documents, perhaps in some ways what they're revealing is not surprising to folks who work in the media, maybe people in Washington, but maybe revealing for a lot of dedicated viewers.
Yeah, I think this court filing, the messages contained in it really exposed Fox News as frankly, a propaganda machine in search of profit. You see that the top executives, people like Rupert Murdoch, as well as the top hosts, people like Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, they privately knew and acknowledged behind the scenes that the election fraud claims being pushed by President Donald Trump's campaign were bogus. They were not true. And yet, the network allowed these claims to make its way onto their air and they were shy about fact-checking. In fact, in one case, one of the Fox News correspondents, Jackie Heinrich, the White House correspondent, fact-checked a tweet from Trump pushing election denialism. And behind the scenes, Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity talked about how they could get her fired.
Simply for fact-checking, for doing her job as a reporter when you're supposed to report the truth and put only the facts out there.
That's precisely right. And she wasn't fired. She's still at the network. But that tweet that she did post, fact-checking the president, did eventually come down. I think this shows how void of any journalistic ethics the people at the top of Fox News were. They were not caring about, you know, what the right thing to do as a reporter is. They were caring about not alienating their audience. They were afraid of the audience and afraid of Donald Trump. And these messages, they're really quite damning, and they reveal it.
Oliver, as these messages were revealed, has Fox News been covering those revelations in the last 24 hours?
Fox News is surprisingly not covering the revelations, exposing their own network. And I would also note that the Wall Street Journal, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, has also not covered this as well. Fox News, I should say, is accusing this of Dominion of cherry-picking quotes in this court filing. But I went through it. I mean, it's hundreds of pages, and they lay out a mountain of evidence that is really an indictment of the network.
So in part of that, too, we've been pointing out in some of this, Tucker Carlson pointing out Sidney Powell is lying, by the way. I caught her. It's insane. Laura Ingraham says Sidney is a complete nut. No one will work with her. Ditto with Rudy. Carlson actually says it's unbelievably offensive to me. Our viewers are good people, and they believe it. That one really sticks with me. Our viewers are good people, and they believe it. And we're going to keep spoon-feeding what we know are lies to them?
It's so, I mean, Tucker Carlson, despite saying these things, went on air last night after this court filing had come out. He went on air last night and cast doubt on the 2020 election at the top of his program. This is what these people do. They don't care about the facts. They know behind the scenes that the election was not rigged, that it was not stolen, and yet, in search of profit, in search of power, they go on air and feed the audience this nonsense. And they know it's nonsense, and they still do it. And I don't know what there is to say about it, but it does expose this network as not interested in the facts, not interested in the truth, but interested in telling the audience what they want to hear so they don't lose it.
And above all else, holding on to that audience, right? They don't want to lose those numbers. They don't want to lose the eyeballs, the advertising revenue, the numbers. Oliver, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.